hallway sets the tone for the color palette of the house. Inspired by kind of the eucalypts, we're both wanting to do some kind of green, neutral kind of green. So in testing different options, we landed on, it's called Tuft by Dulux. So it's got a nice kind of green undertone, and then paired that with a color called Grand Piano. I like it because it also has a bit of green undertones as well, so they go really nicely together. It's also, the Grand Piano, it's a nice kind of putty white. It's not too yellow, and it's also not gray at all, because we wanted a warmer palette. So we thought this turned out really nice. The lights we picked up at Fat Shack Vintage, which we love because it plays with the history of the house. But the biggest impact here was definitely the floors. That's a spotted gum engineered floor from Bowen's. More work to be done here, just finishing up the painting and doing some additional caulking and spackling and stuff. But outside of that, almost done. But the biggest improvement by far for the hallway was the front door. Before, we just had a solid timber door, which left the hallway quite dark, whereas now with the glass in the door, it's flooded with light in the mornings and throughout the day, which is a real help. Now if I could just get around to washing the transom window. In the dining room, there was quite a bit of work to do before we could even think about furniture and things like that. So first start, we needed to get this whole side of the house, this addition that was put on probably in the 60s or 70s, restumped because it hadn't been done before and it was in dire need of doing so. So we hired that out. Had a team of guys come in and they had to rip up the old subfloor to get under and get access to the old stumps and restump, which is up until about where the dining room table is, and then it opens up where they can get in from the side or the front of the house. After they were done, that meant that somebody needed to put the floor back together again. So they had numbered all the boards, but in their own kind of logic. So I had to kind of decode that and then put all the boards down, first by just tagging them down with a nail gun and then going back and screwing any spots that looked a bit soft. Then was the steps. So the house is unique is that there's a step up into the addition from both the kitchen and the living area, so, or the TV lounge rather. So there was a structure there, so there were some 2x4s in the structure of the house, but it needed kind of a step to go on top of that. So I went to a place in Melbourne that sells all kinds of local species hardwood, planed down and dressed to about either, I think it's 32 mil thick or 20 mil thick. So what with doing the math of putting back the subfloor, putting our flooring down with the underlayment and what that would need, we required a 32 mil thick board. Measuring and cutting those to size, I messed up the first one for the kitchen. We had to create two little boards, or two boards, and put them together. I wanted just to have one kind of keyhole, but screwed that one up. Shame on me. So had to kind of do two ones and then secure them together from the bottom and then have that be the one step, which is fine. And then one big long one for the TV lounge. Once we ripped those down, gave them a light sand, they were ready to go in, and then just put a few coats of matte stain on them to seal them. And it was important these went down before the flooring did, because we wanted to lay the floorboards in the same direction as the other rooms of the house, which means we were terminating the boards into the step. So we wanted to make sure that we were kind of maximizing that space and making sure there was as less of a gap as possible. But then of course we knew we were going to have to sort out some kind of cover for between kind of the step and the flooring. For that, I was searching and searching for, I just wanted a flat piece of black iron and some old screws to kind of put down to cover that seam to go with kind of the theme of the house, and couldn't find anything like that for the life of me. Lucky for us, our neighbor has a forge in his back shed, so he's actually a metal worker. He does all kinds of metal work, sculptures and decorative items and things like that. So brought him over, showed him around, and he was like, oh, absolutely, that's pretty easy. I can do that pretty quickly. And I think it just turned out perfectly. Another thing we had to take care of, or really wanted to take care of rather, were the windows. So the windows were old louvers that were probably installed when the addition was built. So they, not only could you not see through them because they were like a textured kind of frosted glass. I guess the previous owner or whoever put the addition on was concerned about privacy, that or just sunlight, because this is the north side of the house, so we do get hammered in the summers. But it drove me a bit nuts because you couldn't see out of the house on this side of the house to the front yard. You had to go over to the other side of the house to look out the front window to see who might be in the front yard or who might be passing by. We wanted to keep with the same style because we liked kind of the modern look, and also just to open up a louver versus opening up a sash window, it just feels like you get so much more air circulation. I went with those in a powder coated finish that's gonna go with the rest of the trim color for the house. So really pleased with how those turned out. Finally, kind of the doors, specifically really the sunroom door was the worst offender. So it was kind of like a hobbit door. So it was like a bit short. So we wanted to switch that out. And also we wanted to get a door with glass in it so it would let some light in from the sunroom, because the sunroom gets a lot of lights. While we were at it, we wanted to go ahead and replace the back French doors as well, because they had kind of seen their prime, and we wanted to get something that was a bit more solid. So went ahead and ordered 3 identical doors to have some more consistency in the room. So that meant opening up the top of that door frame into the sunroom, and then also making that a touch more narrow, which was fine because the door jamb was really right up against the wall. So by bringing it out, we had a bit of more space left for kind of a proper architrave to fit in there. Of course, I still need to get the step down into the sunroom sorted, but I'll handle that when I tackle the center, which will be sometime in the near future. The layout really kind of just created itself. We like the idea of having a little sitting area in the front of the room, just to be close to the doors, a place to have your coffee and tea when you wake up in the morning. I looked and looked and looked for a pair of old vintage chairs, but tallying up the cost of a reupholster job versus buying new just didn't make sense to buy used and spend the time and the money. So we actually picked these up at Freedom, and it took 2 years to get them, but that's fine. When we were thinking about a dining room table, we thought it would be really nice if the outdoor dining room table was the same one, because then what with the size of this room, it would be easy to put 2 big long dining tables right next to each other, just to be able to host Christmas and have the whole family over, or another kind of events that we wanted to host where we were having a big group. So we got 2 of the same table, so one will go outside, and then one comes inside, it butts up right next to the other table, and we can throw a big long tablecloth over it, or not, but that way nobody's kind of sitting on this odd kind of step down or step up which is awesome. Pendants or beacon lighting, so just a simple design. I like the brass and the black. And then the track lights, I felt the lighting plan made sense anyway, so I kept the track lights there because they provide some needed light in different areas, especially having the pendants over the dining room. And then the hutch, we were looking for a hutch. I had in mind just a sideboard without the top piece, but then we came across this piece on Facebook Marketplace, as you may have guessed, and the lady that was selling it was from Tasmania, and she had it custom made there for heaps of money, and we got it for a friggin' steal. It's Tasmanian blackwood, just solid, beautiful timber. What I would like to do with it, however, is to raise the top piece by about, I don't know, 45 centimeters in order to put a center kind of band in that could open up some functional space to kind of be able to have it also act as a more true sideboard where you can actually put stuff down. If I did that, I think it might be a bit more size appropriate. I think it only bugs me only a bit just because I feel like it's a bit low for the space, but that's it. Outside of that, I have no qualms about it. Like, it's just a beautiful piece. In raising that top piece, I would also like to strip it back and just do a matte finish. I think that would help it go with the floors a bit better. It currently has a bit of a satin finish to it, which is fine and good, and I think many people wouldn't even care or notice. I think it looks great anyway, but I'm weird like that, so I think when we do it again, I might do that. Then the curtains, Simon made all the curtains in the house. He's pretty amazing. The table functioned as very much a sewing area, so these are backed with just a inexpensive cloth for heat as well as for sunlight in the summertime, so we can close these if the sun is really hot, and it keeps the house insulated, which is good, and also a bit cozy. For the curtain rods, just using a really simple iron rod. Looked everywhere for them. The only place I could find them was friggin' Pottery Barn, and ordering them took for friggin' ever, but they look good. Fairly happy with them. Eventually, I would like, if we ever redo the kitchen, which will be years away, but I would love to rip out that little bit of bench top and then raise it up and integrate it into kind of a cabinet on that wall where the map is, and then build in kind of a cabinet underneath for storage, and then some exposed kind of storage above, be it a bookcase or another cabinet similar to the hutch in the back of the room. But we'll see if that ever happens. I think currently it's a perfectly fine functional space. But yeah, all good. Finally, the kitchen and bathrooms, we really haven't done anything. I think the only thing we've done in the kitchen is some new lighting, which the old lighting was shite and just really needed to be completely changed with what we like to call the moonlight. I love that light. You can even see it out on the street when you're walking by at night, and it just looks like a big moon hanging in the house. But it's just like some really good light for the whole space, and then doing a bit of an under-counter light to light up the sink and that countertop really help heaps. And then just some new hardware. The hardware that was there previous was not really that comfortable to open, so just getting something that was a bit nicer feeling, and then simple kind of modern look to go with the pendant. Eventually I would like to sand back the hearth and stain it Japan black, again to pull in Japan black into the space that way. But until we get around to getting a new kitchen, which isn't going to be anytime soon, it's a perfectly fine functional kitchen. Perfectly happy with it. We're kind of putting our budget in other places, so all good. Also forgot to mention that thing up there on top of the cabinets. So that was the old range hood, and it wasn't vented into the ceiling. It was just kind of a decorative vent piece that terminated at the ceiling. And also it was a bit loud, and it was hung quite low, so where Simon and I would be standing, it was basically like right here, so right in where you just butt your head. So we decided just to take it down for now, save our pennies, and try and get something new in to take its place. And that about sums it up. So thank you, Benji, for getting my ass out of bed and getting me to make a video for you guys. Hope you've enjoyed it and gotten to see kind of a peek into kind of what it's like inside the house for now. But I will be challenging myself to do a video a week. Got a front yard update coming next week, and then we are getting the carport and the pergola finally built after lots of kind of rumination and talking to the council and applying to council and reapplying to council and reapplying to council and researching some other methods and doing some other things. So it's been a bear, but anyway, lots more to come. Look forward to seeing you guys. Take care. Thanks a lot. Bye.